Hey, what's up, y'all? Um, this is a video about when you come home and you need to cook a little something, but you don't know what you're going to make, and you kind of need to use some leftovers and just use what you got around. That's what this is. You can do this if you have like leftover pasta, or if you have leftover marinara sauce even. As long as you have a few veggies and keep a few staples around, you can whip up something and it'll be great. I'll show you. I went rooting through the refrigerator and to see what we had, and this is sort of what I came up with. So check it out. All right. So normally we do have leftover pasta, but we don't today. So I'm going to actually just going to cook some pasta, just some penne. Had that up in the cabinet. There was I think a tomato that someone sliced the other morning that they didn't use all of. So I'm going to use that. Of course, I always try to keep Parmesan around. There's a new thing. I found some onion that, leftover onion that we didn't use. Some peppers that I'm going to use here. Little pepperoni. Morgan's not eating with us tonight, so hey, pepperoni. I always try to keep some Parmesan or some cotija cheese. I'm not sure if I'm going to use both of these, but I just got it out anyway. I always try to keep a little garlic. I think I've got a new one of these. We usually have some mozzarella on hand, so I'm going to use some of that, probably in cubes. And we've got both some chicken bouillon. I really like this paste a lot. And then we've also got some vegetable bouillon. That's really good. And then I also have a few leftover sun-dried tomatoes here, so probably going to use those as well. So let's see what I can't scare up. Okay, so this is what I've scared up. We've got onions, zucchini, some peppers. I've washed them all, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it all up, put it in here. I've got my pan heating already. Yeah, I think I'm gonna want these kind of, again, I'm cooking with penne, so I'm gonna try to match the rough size of that in terms of the veggies, not too much bigger or smaller. So instead of doing a chunk, I'm probably gonna do more almost like a julienne on this. So I'm gonna cut this down through here. Make sure, let me adjust my camera, make sure you can see this. So now it's in two pieces here. And then if you notice how these lines are already running that direction, I'm gonna keep cutting in that direction, and make sure you have a sharp knife. Boom. Cut them in pieces, sort of like that. This one's already screwed. Not much I can do about that. Try to do it this way. There we go. That way. There we go. Peppers, cut the tops off. I do recommend you get comfortable using your knife. Keep your knife sharp so that you don't have to struggle, because that's usually how you cut yourself, is by struggling through a vegetable of some kind or something. As long as it just slides right through and you keep your fingers out of the way, make it so it kind of rocks a little bit like that, then you should be able to whiz through these things in no time. Oh, I almost forgot. I want to put some carrots in here too. So basically, you just want to cut all your vegetables cut up. Let's do the zucchini real quick. Cut the ends off. Cut it down the middle. Maybe cut it in half again. Cut it in half again. And then pieces like that. I think that's sort of like, what they call a bâton, or a stick in French. Don't quote me on that. I may be wrong. Probably am. But essentially, that's what we're doing. We're going to, that's not too thick, cut these in little pieces that we can cook up. I'm going to cook all of this together in some oil, and I can smell my pan getting hot, so that's a good thing. Okay, pan is hot. You can smell it getting all smoky. Some people like to use olive oil here, but I find olive oil scorches, and usually you want olive oil for the taste more than anything. I probably will add some olive oil to this dish, but not to cook up these veggies. I probably got too much oil. That'll be all right. All right. Take our veggies. That's what you want to hear. When you put them in there, you want to hear them sizzle immediately. You don't want to hear nothing. That's a bad thing. Now, you notice the shape of the pan that I got here? It's got like some kind of bowl shaped a little bit. It's not like a flat thing. It doesn't have straight sides. It's got a little, it's almost like a wok in a way. That's so you can do this with it. And after a while, you can learn to flip it all over the kitchen like that. There we go. So, I've got everything kind of coated in some oil. I'm just going to let it sit there, get a little bit of char on it, and get some of those sugars out of there, and let that cook. After they've sit there a while, you can see how much they've already started to shrink. Some of the moisture is cooking out of that. I'm going to go ahead and add a little salt to this. Now that it's kind of wet. There's a lot of veggies there. A whole zucchini, some peppers, a couple of onions. Oop, lost a piece. It's so full I can't really toss it very well. You can just use a spoon. And that works too, which I'll probably use a spoon later, so I'll go ahead and get a spoon out so I don't get stuff all over the kitchen. So yeah, when you're using a spoon, just lift from the bottom, bring to the top. Lift from the bottom, bring to the top. Let it sit there. You see how the onions are starting to break apart now? Getting a little bit translucent. Those onions will almost go away, so don't worry about biting into a hard onion. Those things are going to be gone. Okay, so now waiting for my water to boil and waiting for my veggies to cook. I am going to get a few other things ready. I've already put a few things up in the fridge that I don't need anymore. I want to cube these. By the way, when you're cooking with your knife, you're supposed to what's called a pinch grip. You're supposed to use a pinch grip. You don't hold it like a hammer. You hold it here so you have a little control over it. This, you don't have a lot of control. Caveman style. So what you want to do is you want to pinch it. And you see how I've cut these into cubes here? Or I've started to create similar sizes. X, Y, and now Z direction. So now I'll have little cubes. And I'll toss that in with it at the very end. But there, put that aside. I'm also going to use some pepperoni. It's always good to keep some pepperoni around. It's good for doing like little cheese plates. We do that quite a bit. We call them deli plates, but like a little chiaroscuro plate. I'm going to use this. It's going to add a little spice to the dish, quite a bit. Well, they're already cooked, so you can eat these raw, which is good. I'm just going to kind of get them in a rough, just kind of a rough dice there. All this stuff. I'll probably warm those in the veggies when I get it done. And then I've also gotten a bowl that I'm going to put this whole thing in, and hopefully it'll fit. And then also I'm going to open up a can of tomatoes. I'm using 5 roasted diced tomatoes. I think I've used those in other recipes before. In fact, I know I have. And they're just good to have around. So I'm not going to show you me opening a can again. Okay, I've also got this basil. It's about to go bad. It's starting to wilt. But it still has a lot of flavor and a lot of aromatics to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and use it up before I have to throw it away. This will add a nice little note to it. It smells so good. Fresh herbs are always good to have around. And I also have this lemon that I'm going to use. And I'm just going to squeeze the juice in it because it adds a nice little acid and a brightness to the dish. I've got garlic that I'm going to put in there. In fact, I'll go ahead and put this garlic in there now. You see how these are starting to get sort of translucent? That's a good thing. They are just about ready to be done. You don't want to add the garlic before, like with everything else, because this has so much sugar in it that it'll just burn and become crispy, and you won't ever get the goodness from it. It's almost out, so I'm just going to take the top off. Put it in there. That's probably about 4 or 5 cloves. All right, looks like the water's starting to boil. Hey, look at there. Time for salt. Remember, salty as the sea. You want it salty as the sea. Okay, cooking tips. Just open the salt up, and it has this little this little spout. This spout's always flat. One thing I always do is, I don't know if you can see this or not, I try to bend this little piece out here. You see that? Won't you focus? Please focus. Not focusing. Anyway, try to bend it out so that you can get to it later. And I'm going to put some salt in here. I think I did this last time, but I'll show you. About that much. What, a quarter cup? Something like that? Yeah. Okay, pasta. I'm going to figure 2 handfuls per person. There's just 2 of us eating tonight. Just me and my youngest. So I'm going to add a little extra because I know we're going to want some leftovers, and I cooked quite a bit of veggies here. So maybe at least, man, that's going to be almost all of it. You know what? I'll put all of it in there. At least I know what I've got. So yep, cook the pasta, give it a stir. Don't mind if you use the same spoon. Ain't no big deal. Stir it up. Put on your timer. I think this cooks for 9 minutes, but I'm going to check it in 7, see what happens. All right. Okay. Got the veggies cooking. They're about done. I think I turned them off. Yep, turn them off. And I've got, I think, 4 cups of water here. Let's see if you can see that or not. It's not wanting to focus very well. Anyway, okay. So 4 cups of water. Need a spoon. Hold on. Okay, got my spoon. Now, this is bouillon. You can use dry bouillon, like the cubes, or the stuff that comes in a powder. But this is my favorite. It's a paste. It's actually, I think, cooked down stuff. This is almost empty. This is the chicken, and this is the vegetable. I'm going to use mostly vegetable. I'm going to put a little bit of chicken in there too. But I'm going to use probably, you know what, about half and half. So I'm going to use about a big kind of heaping tablespoon of each with this warm water. Well, it sounds like a lot, but it has really nice umami. And that's really where most of the flavor for this dish is going to be coming from. It's from this. You can kind of see that. So I'm just going to mix this in this warm water until it dissolves, and we're going to use it here in just a bit. Don't mix up the tops. Okay, so my pasta is almost ready. I'm going to go ahead and bring this back up to temperature. Put it back on high. I'm going to go ahead and add this liquid to these veggies here. Not all of it at one time, but most of it. There we go. Remember, I had the veggie bouillon and chicken bouillon in that. I've already grated my other cheese. This is going there too. Basically, I'm just going to get this hot, okay? Because this is what I'm going to put in my, almost like a sauce, really, but it's going to be like a really thin, just flavorful sauce. This is going to be punched up with flavor with all of this bouillon and with all those aromatics, the garlic, the onions, those peppers are going to add a lot to it. And then let me go ahead and cut down my sun-dried tomatoes. Now I've already got, this is about a quarter cup of sun-dried tomatoes, and apparently they're already julienned, so they're already kind of small, and so I'm not going to worry with it too much. Didn't realize that till I had it out on the board, but what I'll do is add that to this, so just get warm. It's already cooked. Not really adding too much to the overall flavor of the dish, but when you bite into it, you'll get that nice bright flavor. You'll notice I still have my basil. I'm going to wait and put that in at the very end of the dish along with the cheese. And when this gets a little warmer, when I first initially toss it, I'm going to toss it with the Parmesan. And then if we need that, the extra lemon, we'll do it. And then probably it's a good time to add the tomatoes too while I'm warming it. So in go the tomatoes. Now this, really, all I'm doing is just getting it warm. I'm getting all these ingredients warm. Time to check on my pasta here. Let me get a slotted spoon. Give it a good stir. And let's pull out a random sample here. Careful, don't burn yourself. It's about another minute. I'll be ready. Now keep in mind, this pasta is also going to heat this up too. So we're almost ready for dinner. So I think my pasta is ready. My veggies are still kind of getting warm over there. But in the meantime, I am going to go ahead, slide a spoon. Oh, turn off my alarm. That's good. Taste it one more time just to make sure. Perfect. You don't want it to be slimy. That's the one thing you don't want. Now, normally, sometimes you can put this like in a strainer and strain it all out at one time. But honestly, I want a little bit of that pasta water because that's going to thicken this up a little bit along with the Parmesan so that everything kind of sticks to the noodles a little bit. It's not just noodles swimming in broth. That's what you don't want either. And honestly, part of the secret to that is using this pasta water. Something I haven't tried, I've thought about doing is putting the bouillon directly in this water. You have to try that sometime. I haven't tried it yet. Now what you're going to notice is that pot that I started with, I realized was too small. This is one of the things that happens when you do it on the fly, but I already washed it, put it up, put it on the drying rack, and now I am going to toss this up. I'm going to go ahead and add some cheese. Hey, Lauren just came in from her nap, I'm guessing.
I didn't take a nap.
You didn't take a nap? Mm-hmm. Wow, worked all day, no nap. Add some cheese, add some olive oil. This is probably 1/4 cup. If you want to measure it if you want to. And then I want to toss it up. Yeah. And that's going to start melting this cheese a little bit, make it nice and cheesy. Thank you, Lauren, for throwing my trash away. And once my veggies are warmed up, I will add that to it and we'll have dinner. I've simmered the vegetables. Remember, I just want to get all this warm. And I have mixed up my noodles and you can see the cheese is melting, which is good. I'm going to add all this to it. Smells really good. And I'm going to add my well, do that last. Add my cheese cubes. And I'm going to add a little bit of hot pepper. If you don't like hot pepper, don't put the hot pepper, but I kind of meant to put it earlier, but it's okay if you put it later. No biggie. And then I'm going to melt it, stir it. And all this cheese and the pasta water and the starch from the pasta itself will cause this stuff to kind of like start to stick to the noodles a little bit. And Primavera isn't always, it's not really a sauce per se. It's more of a fresh vegetables and pasta, which is what this is. Looks pretty good, even if it doesn't sound great. And I'm going to add the basil at the end. And we have dinner. All right, there we have it. Pasta Primavera. Just made with what I found in the fridge. Hope you enjoy. Add a little bit of pepper to that too. Enjoy.